You gotta shake it before you bake it. No shaking.
The 70th edition of the U.S. Nationals is sponsored by Peak. Peak original equipment technology matches all vehicle manufacturers' antifreeze technology requirements, and Peak has the perfect match for your vehicle. With their line of premium coolant specifically designed to match the technology and color requirements, as well as easy-to-read color cues on the packaging and label, and a list of covered vehicles make it easy to identify the right match for your ride. Find out more information about all Peak antifreeze and coolants at peakauto.com or using the link below. And be sure to sign up for our Peak US Nationals giveaway contest. We're giving away 3 swag bags from our friends at Peak Performance. Winners will be announced during Monday's recap video following the 70th edition of the US Nationals. A link to the form will be provided below. Well, I'm about as happy as a clam. Let me tell you, Sam. There's reasons why I love the US Nationals. This is one of my favorite weekends of the year, and it just keeps on proving, not only in the pro categories, but in our friends over in Sportsman series as well. 2 great rounds of qualifying. We came into this morning a little bit wet, but it evened out as noon rolled around. So we basically got back on track to go where we needed to go for the pro sessions. Sadly, it screwed things up for the Sportsman, which is why they're still running, and they're going to be here probably until way after dark, until probably Mission Control, where the police is getting 15 calls a minute asking about why these race cars are still on the track. So, well, apparently there's also reports of gunshots. Turns out it was fireworks from what I understand, because, again, Indianapolis is a beast unto itself. We know Brainerd for being a party atmosphere because of the zoo. Well, there's a lot of campers across the way on Wally Parks Boulevard, and man oh man, were they having a party last night to celebrate the kickoff of the pro categories of the US Nationals. We had 2 rounds of qualifying as well as the end of the Mission 2 Fast 2 Tasty Challenge, and not just for this weekend, but in general. We crowned our champions because of the fact that these points that you get from it go into the countdown to the championship. Therefore, you don't need it anymore. So we have a lot to look forward to, not only because of that ending, but because the storylines of Indianapolis comes here every single year that we arrive continues. Big story right now in Top Fuel. The Kalitta cars, which shout out to Kevin back there. The Kalitta camp is right over my shoulder. They are the big story of the pro categories right now. Shawn, Langdon, and Doug Kalitta go into Sunday afternoon with 2 rounds of qualifying left. They have 2 more shots to bump their way into the 70th edition of the US Nationals. Keep in mind, they are 1-2 in the points right now. So you're talking about the number 1 and 2 drivers potentially not being in the countdown. Meanwhile, Brittany Force needs to have herself a great weekend in order to make the countdown. She's currently number 1. Again, as number 1, gets the bonus points today. Actually lost a few because during her Q3 run, she oiled down the racetrack. That cost her a penalty point. She ended up getting 4 points from that round. So she ended up still breaking about even despite the penalty. But again, a major improvement for that Force camp as they continue to build momentum, not just in the Top Fuel Dragster camp, but in the Funny Car camp as well. Austin Prock, again, jumps up number 1 qualifier to end on Saturday, going into Sunday, but Jack Beckman as well, still up there in the top 5. He continues to build momentum. J.R. Todd is looking better as well. He is the flag bearer right now for the Kalitta camp with that mustache. I called him a lookalike of Gary Selzy, even though I forgot about the fact that Gary had the Fu Manchu and he just came out to here, but my point still stands. He looks like Gary Selzy to me. Pro stock, again, Greg Anderson basically holding it down for the KB Titan camp. The Elite cars are running roughshod right now, but Dallas Glenn is still waiting in the wings to try and have a good shot of bringing the fight to the Elite cars come Monday. And then in Pro Stock Motorcycle, we're starting to see where this weight penalty that came in after Sonoma is starting to shake up for the rest of the bikes. MSR 1, 2, 3, and 4 to end Q3. We'll talk about how that transpired in a bit when we go through our results here in a second. But man, oh man, if you love Bump Day, while this isn't Indianapolis 500, we have a lot more cars going home than they do right now. So there's a lot to look forward to as we head into the final 2 sessions tomorrow, as well as the funny car call out. Without further ado, let's look into your Saturday final results. In Pro Stock Motorcycle, John Hall won the Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge today with a 6.830. He holds on to the #1 qualifying spot as well. He said that in Q3. The person he beat to win a Too Fast, Too Tasty was Matt Smith with an 836. He red-lit, ends up second. Gage Herrera bumped himself from about 5th up to 3rd in Q number 3. He finally finds himself in the top 3, breaking the 1, 2, 3, 4 streak that they had with Gianna Varisto in 4th and Angie Smith in 5th, who during her Q3 run had issues after crossing the finish line, and pieces of the bike broke off as she coasted down the shutdown area. That is still a developing story as we get ready to move into Sunday. Hector Honor Jr. red lit in round 1 of the Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty. He finishes 6th. Richard Gadsden back in 7th. Chase Van Sant in 8th. Kelly Klantz had a really good turnaround. Entered Saturday, qualified 15th, moves herself all the way up to number 9 entering Sunday. Chris Bostick, another good run in 10th. Steve Johnson 11th. Gino Scally in 12th. Ryan Ayler 13th. Mark Ingerson 14th. Ron Torno in 15th. And lastly, Wesley Wells rounds out the field. In Pro Stock, Greg Anderson said after Friday night that he didn't feel that run was going to stand come Saturday and Sunday. It did not stand. However, he was the one who still holds on to the top spot. A 6.588, an improvement from Friday sees him number 1. Eric Enders second with a 592. Jerry Tucker with a 6.600 rounds 3rd. Aaron Stanfield with a 6.01 in 4th. Quadra 5th. Dallas Glenn, your Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty winner in 6th. Fernando Quadra Jr. 7th. And Mason McGahey rounds out the top half. Jake Coughlin Jr. down in 9th. Matt Hartford in 10th. Corey Reed in 11th. Camry Crusoe 12th. 13th. Samuel August 14th. Christian Quadra. Troy Coughlin Jr. 15th. And on the bump is Derek Kramer with a 6.640. As for the drivers not in the show right now, Eric Latino with a 6.652. He's going to need to find a 100th of a second to try and bump his way into the field tomorrow. Derek Reese 18th. Larry Morgan 19th. And Chris McGahey 20th, with Kenny Delco rounding shotgun in 21st. In Fuel Funny Car, Austin Prock bumps his way back up with a 3.855 to round out Saturday. Bob Tasca with a 3.871 rounds out second, running 336.23 miles an hour. Fast Jack Beckman finishes 3rd with an 8.77. Blake Alexander falls to 4th. Cruz Pedregon as well down to 5th. Ron Capps improves to 9.01 after Q2. He moves up to 6th. Alexis DeJoria 7th. J.R. Todd, your Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge winner today, rounds out the top half. Matt Hagan bumps his way from outside of the field up into 9th with a 9.18. He currently sits 9th. Paul Lee down to 10th. Bobby Bodie continuing to build momentum with a 9.86, stays in 11th. Daniel Wilkerson down in 12th. Did a horrible Jacko impression after his Q3 run on the top end. And he tried to do a redo, but they cut the camera right as he was grabbing the microphone out of Alan Reinhardt's hand. Really weird. Chad Green, but we love it. Chad Green in 13th. Dale Creasy Jr. down in 14th with a 4.055. Chris King in 15th. This is one of the big moments of the day as well. In Q2, he over-revved the engine on the burnout and popped the motor. Did not return for Q3, so he currently stands on the run. He's going to have 2 more shots tomorrow. Probably going to need to use both to try and make sure he stays in this field. Buddy Hull, again, finds himself in the bump spot after not qualifying at Brainerd. He's going to need to perform well today to keep his championship hopes alive. Currently not in the show, Dave Richards with a 4.502. He ran a 4.144 in Q2, but he hit the center block passing the line at the 1,000-foot mark, so the run was disallowed, so he stands on his Q1 run. And then it wasn't going to be any better in Q3 because as he crossed the finish line again, he hit the wall. So now that run's thrown out too, and now he has flattened headers again. And then Justin Schriefer, again, the struggles with a 6.801 down in the final spot. He also did not run Q3, so he had no chance to improve. In Top Fuel, Brittany Forrest holds on to her #1 qualifying spot from Friday night, but also improves after her Q2 run. She oiled on the track, so she loses some of the bonus points, but still holds on #1 qualifying spot to end Saturday afternoon. Tony Stewart winning Q2 run as well. Very big improvement to a 7.07, jumps himself up to 2nd as he enters Sunday. He has a really good shot of holding on to a top half qualifying spot. TJ Zizzo with a monumental run in the heat of the day of Q3, runs a 7.16 to bump himself from the bottom half of the field up to 3rd. Your reigning U.S. Nationals winner, 2-time back-to-back As a matter of fact, and Shawn Brown rounds out 4th. Trip Tatum had a really good run in Q2, holds on to 5th. Steve Torrance goes from outside of the field up to 6th with Justin Ashley as well. Tony Schumacher goes on a bump. He moves up to 8th to round out the top half. Sean Reed falls to 9th. Dan Mercier in 10th. Billy Torrance 11th. Josh Hart goes from outside of the field up to 12th with a 7.72, needing to perform to try and bump Brittany Force out of the countdown. Clay Milliken finishes 13th. Doug Foley falls to 14th. Ida Zetterstrom falls way down to the field in the 15th. Jasmine Salinas holds the bump spot. And then the biggest story of the pro categories, Doug Kalitta 17th. Shawn Langdon 18th. Was really gonna be a hard time to try and bump themselves up. Shawn didn't have a good run. He barely held on, was on a bump spot. Doug Clutter came out, did not have a good run as well. Ran a 8.23. That was only enough to bump Shawn Langdon out. Then they got bumped out again. So 17th and 18th with 2 more runs going into Sunday. Krista Baldwin rounds out 19th. Lex June shotgun on the field in 20th. Once again, we do have highlights courtesy of NHRA and Fox, but first, let's hear a word from our partners over at Peak.
Protect your vehicle with Peak Original Equipment Technology. Our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle.
For John Hall, this is to get qualified for the Toyota U.S. Nationals. For John Hall, this is for some bonus championship points, as is Hector Arana Jr. Here we go. Red light start. Hector Jr. fouls out. He knew he had to get up on the wheel. I'll tell you why in a second. John Hall, 6.83.0, 198. John Hall. Low of the session, John Hall. Low of the event, John Hall. Throws it down. 198 miles an hour, was 0.11 on the starting line. Hector Arana Jr. with a 6.87.8, 196, red lighted by 5 thou. If he was perfect, he couldn't have got the win. Q2 U.S. Nationals, the folks at Toyota making it happen. Greg Anderson rips the low numbers, 9:69 to the 60-foot clock, and Greg Anderson takes back the #1 spot. 6:58.8, 2:06. Erica Enders, 6:59.2. They are 1 and 2 after 2 sessions. For the second run in a row, the chute comes out a little early for Cap. Still runs 3.901 at 3:13. Meanwhile, Austin Prock, your new #1 qualifier, 3:85.5, 3:28. Jason Galvin is on the starting line. Back-to-back winner, going for 3 in a row at the Toyota U.S. Nationals. Antron driving to the right side of the groove, and Brittany 3:69.3, 333 miles an hour, and Brittany Force is your new #1 qualifier. An unbelievable session of Top Fuel Racing. Brittany Force takes back the #1 spot. Antron Brown with an eventful 3:72.3 at 3:31. Jason Galvin on the starting line. Let's see what happens. Final round. Who's going to take it? Red light start, Matt Smith. Red light start, Matt Smith. John Hall wins the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge. Final round, Pro Stock, Mission Foods. Here we go. Red light start, Mason McGahey. 10 early, and Dallas Glenn wins the race. 6:62, 1:206.83 for Dallas Glenn and the Rad Torque Systems machine. And the DHL Supra is driving away. 3:95.3, 3:25.22. J.R. Todd wins it. The final Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge in 2024. Justin Ashley drives through tire smoke to take the win. 4:08.5, 260 wins it for Justin Ashley. Justin, 034 on the starting line, a visible reaction time advantage, and the Skag machine, a wire-to-wire win, takes down Ida Zetterstrom.
Something that I noticed on Friday night was how these bikes were launching off the line, going straight for the wall. I got a picture of Jasmine Salinas with her wheel pointed dead left towards the center line. Can you talk about how challenging this track is and how these bikes are acting starting off the line?
I haven't had an issue. Gianna had an issue. I saw her pass from the angle it was on, and the bike just shot left. I'm not having that issue. The biggest issue I think for us is, and maybe the cars too, is the right lane past the finish line has a huge dip in it, and it's you don't feel it on the run, but you know it's coming. You got to be ready for it. So that's my only issue, and that's why I went left lane. I had lane choice over Matt. He wanted, he's been in the left lane. I didn't really take left lane to screw him up. I took left lane because I really didn't want to go down the right lane and have to deal with that dip in the right lane.
So Blake Alexander said that Brainerd and Indy are the perfect back-to-back tracks, and they run very similarly for a funny car. Obviously, to a pro stock, exact opposites on how they're going to run. But is that kind of the case for you guys as well? Does this track run similarly to how you guys did at Brainerd? And is that going to bode well for you, considering you just won that event?
I do feel, at least through these qualifying days, the air has been fairly similar. It's been hot and humid, and the barometer hasn't been great. But, going into Monday, I think that everybody's world's going to get turned upside down because I think the weather's going to be quite a bit different. So having these two races back to back, I think, I know that the track is a little bit different for a pro stock car, but I don't know. I have a lot of faith in my crew chiefs. I think they've got a lot of notes from all the racetracks, so I'm not really worried about the track being much different.
Well, after the weekend you had back at Brainerd, where you're beside yourself after everything that had happened, to come in here and win the Too Fast, Too Tasty and look even stronger going into Sunday and Monday, how much of a sigh of relief is it for you and your team to see the rebound you guys have and be able to carry the torch for the Kalitta organization?
Yeah, I never had any doubt in the guys' ability to turn things around and get things prepared for this weekend. I just hate creating more work for them. That was a bummer of a weekend. The last 3 years, our results have shown that we should probably stay home Brainerd weekend and maybe come here and test to get ready for this race in the playoff. But yeah, it's awesome to be able to reward them with some extra bonus money and hopefully a little more money Sunday and more on Monday. But at the end of the day, we want to win the race, win the championship. That's the ultimate reward. And if we can pull that off, I think they'll look back at Brainerd and say that it was probably worth it.
So, the last 2 years, you've won the Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty back-to-back, or championship, I guess. You've kind of earned this nickname, Mr. Saturday now. Is it kind of frustrating that this performance on Saturday just isn't translating on Sunday like you think it would?
No, I don't think so. I think it's translated on Sunday. I mean, we did have 3 wins this year, but I know that there's times where there's certainly been some inconsistency. And look, the truth is, it speaks to 2 things. It obviously speaks to us, because ultimately it falls on us whether we win or lose, but it also speaks to the competition. The competition is just that good right now. Whether we perform well on Saturday, bad on Saturday, it has no effect essentially on Sunday. We feel good, and we're happy that we won, and we try and carry that momentum, but ultimately just the competition is that good that as soon as Saturday's done, all our focus, energy, and effort has to be on Sunday, otherwise we're going home early. But I think all in all, honestly, if I'm being honest with you, I think, relatively speaking, there's been some ups and downs, but we've translated that success to Sunday pretty good this year.
So you saw after last night, you held on to the P1 spot. You go into today, you still hold on to that, but we're starting to see these guys in the back half of the field starting to turn these cars around and making a run for you. As the conditions get better heading into Sunday for those final 2 rounds of qualifying, how do you and your crew keep the momentum building to try and finish off this weekend and secure your spot in the countdown?
We're just keeping our focus one day at a time, one run at a time. We accomplished, we picked up a bonus point today. Like I said, we lost a couple points on that oil down. We were very bummed about that. But again, you have to look at the positivities. We're still qualified number 1, and we get 2 more tomorrow. So we have another shot to build as much as we can tomorrow before going into race day. So we're feeling really good. We're feeling really confident about it. I know everyone's chasing it. Everyone out here is throwing down, trying to make sure they're in the show. And they want to be a part of Monday. Everyone does.
So that is going to wrap up our Saturday afternoon content for the pro categories, but we're not done just yet. If you want to watch some of the Sportsman highlights, we're going to have a recap video of that up here in just a little bit. So be sure to tune in to watch that as we recap Factory Stock Showdown and Pro Mod as they get set for eliminations tomorrow. Once again, if you guys like the content, subscribe to the channel today so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming content, including some interviews that we're going to try to have lined up for tomorrow, as well as you look forward to the Funny Car Call Out and, of course, the 70th edition of the U.S. Nationals. Be sure to sign up for the Peak Giveaway U.S. Nationals contest. We currently have over 30 people signed up to try and win our 3 swag bags, including a signed hat from Fast Jack Beckman himself. And again, until Sunday afternoon, this has been Mighty Mac. We'll see you next time.